Carty. I'm an Irish Republican, and last year I found myself at the mercy of the British state, interned by remand in McYabry prison on row house at a time when Republican prisoners were protesting for their rights and to be treated with respect and dignity. During that time, I became friends with Brent McConville and John Paul Wooden, who are now more commonly known as the Craigavon Two. I went in shortly before both men went to trial. During that time, I got a chance to read depositions and other material relating to the court case. And it was the belief of myself and other prisoners on the wing that both men would walk free, as the case was completely ridiculous. Unfortunately, both men were convicted for the 2009 shooting of PSNI Constable Stephen Carroll in Craigavon. Any serious, in-depth look at that case raises concern. And not just from myself, speaking as an Irish Republican, but from other people who have come on board with the Justice for the Craigavon Two group when it was constituted. People who have no political interest in republicanism or any other ideology, just in the issues of justice. I believe the case of the Craigavon Two, as do others, represents a serious miscarriage of justice. Key to this miscarriage centres around a witness known only as M. The heavy use of public interest immunity certificates during the case of the Craigavon Two effectively tied the hands of the defence behind their backs, where they could not delve into this character. I know who this character is. Large numbers of people in this room know who this character is. The only reason his identity was hidden from us was that we could not expose his Watamiti background and the serious flaws in his character, many similar to issues raised by Ken over the Supergrass trial. The involvement of the British Army and MI5 in this case raised sinister aspects. We are led to believe that a tracking device was placed on the car of John Paul Wooden, yet over half of the contents of this tracking device was wiped, and the chain of custody of the tracking device broken. How can this be used as credible evidence in a court of law? Inconclusive forensics. The gunshot or the gunfire residue found on a jacket found in John Paul Wooden's car was of that high a dosage that one Republican stated it must have been worn in every Republican operation since 1916. This jacket had multiple DNA profiles, some of which we are led to believe, belonged to John Paul Wooden. But as was raised earlier by John Finucane, we have seen how reliable DNA evidence is in the north of Ireland in regards to the case of Brian Shivers. There's no clear role for either of the men put forward by the state in the shooting of Constable Carroll. For us, as a campaign group, and we've been campaigning now since September, to raise these issues, we believe it is clearly a serious miscarriage of justice, as do others. This led to the 29th of April and the appeal date for both men, and what we expected to be a 10-day appeal process, which we hoped would vindicate them on our position. What happened next has been well documented in the media, but has seemed to be clearly unprecedented. A witness has been touched on earlier by John, who is key to the defence in the appeal process, was arrested and held, and we believe harassed and cajoled in trying to do away with his affidavit. But what has almost grown into something of itself, autonomously off the Craigavon Two case, is what has happened around the defence solicitors. But as we touched on earlier, when John hinted that conditions around the defence solicitors in the case of the Craigavon Two are almost similar to things that went on in the background around Pat Finucane in the lead up to his assassination. What we find now is a number of non-governmental organisations, the Law Society and leading law firms have lobbied the United Nations to send the UN Special Rapporteur to Northern Ireland to protect the defence solicitors in the case of the Craigavon Two, John Paul Wooden and Brendan McConville. And that is a serious retrospective step by the state, where we see now conditions that were clearly happening in the late 1980s, in the late 1990s, in regards to Rosemary Nelson and Pat Finucane, are now evident today, aimed towards Kevin Winter's law firm in Belfast. So I'd ask people in the coming months, with the appeal now rescheduled to take place in October, to watch closely the case of Brendan McConville and John Paul Wooden. But I'd also say, I'm going to leave, I know there's some others going to speak on it too, but this case doesn't sit by itself. There has been cases went before, such as Brian Shivers, who has recently been acquitted, and there's been other cases which we've seen where Maureen Price recently released, and the case of Martin Corey and currently Stephen Morney, who is, in my opinion, the worst case of internment Barramount. Thank you.